So in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to build a solid personal foundation for success. And if you don't do this step properly, then the odds are that you would not be successful. Okay. And this is an area where I personally made a mistake. I got the right business model. I got the right people involved. I got everything lined up. I did exactly everything what my mentor asked me to. But this is where I made a mistake. And I faced severe consequences before that. But I went back, I recreated the personal foundation, and now I'm in a much better position. So I'm going to talk about how to create a solid foundation for success. This is before you are successful. This is if you have big dreams and big goals and you want to accomplish them, and you are someone who faces lack of motivation, you don't have productive days, you don't have, whatever you decide in your life, it doesn't seem to go in that direction. You tend to feel being pulled in different directions. Like it's almost like you feel that you're being controlled by hidden forces that are beyond your control. And, for example, you put an alarm to wake up at 6 o'clock, and you have been trying to wake up at 6 o'clock for many weeks, but you're not able to do it. Or maybe you want to go to a gym, or you want to start a business, or, anything that you want to do, and you decide you're going to do it, but somehow something happens and it just never happens. And you find yourself being lazy and unproductive and not motivated. So I'm going to break down reasons for that. And they are reasons that are not obviously visible. They are hidden forces that secretly control you. So I'm going to talk about that, and all of that gets down to building a personal foundation. So let's break this down. When you want to create a big business or become extremely financially successful or build a nice physique, you're going to use the power of your mind and the power of your body that's already there. Okay, so we're going to break the body and mind into several aspects. One is your food and sleep. Okay. Second, that's what the body needs. Second thing that the body needs is sex. Okay, that's what the body needs. Then it needs a place that it can be protected in. That's your house, your home, etc. The mind is shaped by what goes through your ears and what goes through your ears and what goes through your eyes. That's what the mind is shaped by. Anything that goes through your eyes and ears will shape your mind. So your mind is an instrument that you will use to create success, and your body is another instrument that you're going to use for success. So you got mind and body. So you got food, rent, sex, which you get, you have a girlfriend or wife or boyfriend or husband. That structure of the relationship is to fulfill these needs, even emotional needs. So these are the fundamental aspects of a human being. Okay. And why are we covering these right now? I will get to it in a second, how this affects your performance in any area of life. Okay. So if you are getting your food, if somebody wants to control you, they have to control your food, they have to control the area of sex, and they have to control how you live or where you live. If they control any of these aspects, you are in their control. You're not in your own control. So if you have, and all of these things, the food, sex, and a place to stay is all connected with finance. So if somebody wants to control you, they have to control any of this or any one of this or many more of these. So if you have handed the control over around these aspects to somebody else, you do not have a solid foundation. Especially somebody that is not reliable, somebody who wants to control you, somebody who wants to dominate you, then you do not have a reliable structure. So, I'll give you an example of this. I was living in my mother's house at the beginning. So, if I'm living at my mother's house and she's cooking for me, she controls the place I stay, which I need, and she controls the food that I'm going to eat. And also she controls where I go. So, essentially, I'm in her control. In fact, she is going to take decisions in my life. And any decision I want to take in my life, I have to go through her. So there is going to be a very limited domain of access that I would have to execute on my dreams. She may not agree the hours that I work in. She may not agree with someone who I'm hanging out with or spending time with. She may not agree with my business model, with my business thesis. She may not agree with my pursuits, my ambitions. She may not agree with so many things. But if I'm in her house, I have to listen to her. If I'm eating the food that she's providing, I have to listen to her. That's the basis of all control. It's food, it's shelter, and it's sex. For example, if you have, typically I've noticed this with women and, wives. Sometimes you can get into situations where you're married to someone and you are dependent on them for this need, for example, having sex, and it's a fundamental need. And that person can start to control you. And in fact, food and sex are primary forms of control that women use. Not always, but very often. And they use this to control the man. Okay? So a man can be controlled by controlling their food, their rent, and sexually. So, if you have handed the control over to somebody whose house you live in, it doesn't matter who it is. It could even be landlord. When you take a place up for rent, you have terms and you have to agree to the terms. But that's something that you're agreeing to. But if you happen to find yourself in a place where you're living in a parent's house or a big brother's house, situation like that, then they pretty much control your life. They may allow you some freedom, but it's up to them whether they allow that freedom or not. So I was in that situation, and then my brother became financially successful, and then he had a house and he was a little more liberal. So I suddenly find myself in his house. And not immediately, but over time, as I started to live with him, I started to see that he started to have more and more control over me and my life. Where I go, what I do, he had oversight over everything. And I really struggled with motivation because I was staying in his house, and for some reason, the power in my body would not be there. For some reason, I would not feel free. I would somewhere feel that I cannot go anywhere I want. I cannot do anything I want, because anything that he does not agree with, he will enforce a consequence on me. So that fear controls your mind and it controls your body. Okay, where will I go? What will I eat? How do I survive? All of these questions. So if you have a job, so the food and rent is connected to finance. Now let's take a little bit deep dive into this. If you have a job, you are connected to that company, and all your rent, food, and everything that is the foundation of life is coming from that company. And you know, and you have a salary that you get from this company. So you are pretty much in control of that company. You have to do everything that they say, everything they tell you, and you have to obey, and you have to say yes, and you have to agree. So essentially, you do not have freedom. You could even have a very big and nice salary, but you still don't have freedom. And this is why, it is said that money cannot buy happiness, or some people even say money cannot buy freedom, because you are essentially selling all your time to a company and they control you for money. So you can have the money, but you do not have fundamental control and power over your system. They are the ones who have control and power. So how good your life is and how much freedom you have is really will be up to your boss. And the only freedom that you have is choosing which boss to choose. Either way, you're going to have a boss. So if you're living with your parents, if you're living with some sibling who's paying the rent, or if you have a job where you receive a salary, in all of these scenarios, you will not have total power and control. And this is the reason why you may feel lack of motivation. What you're feeling is not lack of motivation. What you're feeling is lack of power. What you're feeling is lack of power. Somebody has taken your liberty away. Somebody has taken your freedom away. Somebody has taken your power away. They have found a way to pay you a salary, or give you some resources, or let you stay in their house, or whatever, and they have control over you. They may not overtly express that control, but try doing something that they do not agree with and see what happens. As long as you are compliant, everything is smooth and harmonious. The moment you start doing something to break free from that power structure, something they don't agree with, something that doesn't benefit them, you will see there will be a chaos. And this is the reason why the issue of families, friends, and a boss becomes a critical issue. And the issue of your partner, your sexual partner, or your wife or your girlfriend, whoever you're sleeping with, I don't know, but that becomes a critical issue because they can exercise control on your behavior. All they have to do is to deny that thing that is fundamental to your survival. And they will have leverage over you, they'll have control over you. And hence you will find, if you want to give long hours, if you want to do something that's outside of that framework that they want you to follow, there will be tension. And wherever there is tension in this power base, wherever there is tension between people who have this kind of leverage over you, your entire foundation is going to shake up. And you're going to go through immense stress and anxiety, and you will not have the energy to move on because one of your fundamental aspects of life has been attacked. So people can have control over you through finances, food, place you stay, and sexuality. This is the reason if your wife is not supportive towards what you want to do in life, and you don't have an agreement on that, and if you have not set the right expectations, you can be controlled. And it's a very soft form of control. It's not the kind of control that someone may have by putting a gun to your face. It's not that kind of control, but it's a little more subtle. It's a little more soft. It's more of a psychological control that people exercise over you. So if you have one hook on you, somebody is making food for you when they have all the leverage. Another hook, rent. Another hook, or you don't have any of these, but you have one hook, which is your job and the boss, and he controls everything. You have some form of this going on right now. If you don't, amazing. That's brilliant. You have a strong, solid foundation for success. There's nothing to stop you. Nobody's in the way. But if you have any of these, then people have leverage over you. They can control you. Another form of control is through your eyes and ears. What people say to you, to your face, depending on the type of position they are in your life, will have effect on you. So if someone from a position of authority, someone who has any of these leverage on you, says something to you about you, gives you a feedback, that will affect and infect your mind. Okay. And all of this will affect success, the amount of power you have, how you feel about yourself, how your mind is shaped. Another aspect of control is whoever or whatever you listen to and see on media, movies, television, anything that goes through your eyes and ears basically will shape your mind. So you have to control who you see in your day, who you meet, and just notice how these people gain leverage over you first, and then they control you. They control the way you think, they control the way you operate, they control your very behavior and movement. I remember my mother used to say, you can't go anywhere out after 9, 10, when I was a certain age. So maybe she was trying to protect me, but there were still protocols much later that I had to follow. And it's a form of slavery, really. But not just at home, but even in your work environment, it's the boundaries are set. You have to come at 9 and you have to leave at 5 or whatever the work hours are. And you have to do these tasks. If you don't do these tasks, we're going to affect consequences on you. Okay. So if you are affected and infected by all of these, you will have problems such as lack of motivation, lack of power, lack of courage, laziness. Laziness is just lack of power. You have all the power gone out of your system. And this is what I experienced for a long time, and I could not find the solution for it. I did not know what was going on, what was wrong. But then as I started to write down aspects, I realized. So you have to have your own place that you control. You have to have the power in your relationship with your woman. Okay, and you have to have control over your finances. Now, I'm going to offer some solutions, how to break free from these chains. Okay. For each person who has power over you, write down why they have the power. Do they control the house that you are in? Do they control the food that you're eating? Do they control your finances? Do they control you sexually? Very covertly. This is all covert stuff. Okay? This is not stuff that's done aggressively, but this is very covert. The moment you do something out of line that does not agree with these forces, bang, it'll get aggressive. It'll get hostile. So if it gets hostile enough times, you will get conditioned that, okay, I should not do these things. But there is no such thing as shoulds and should nots. You're a free individual and you have your own power and you should be able to do whatever the fuck you want. So you have to start building a power base that's independent. Or I should use a different word, because there is no such thing as being totally independent. You always have to depend on people to do things for you. I'm wearing this nice suit. I didn't make this suit. Someone else made this. So in a way, I'm dependent. But what you want to do is depend not on one person, but you got to spread the risk. All the money that you're making in your life cannot come from one person, one source, one decision maker. That decision maker has too much power. Even let's say you're in a relationship with a woman, that aspect, and this is a little bit controversial, okay, but I have to speak the truth. If you cannot replace the woman that you're with with a woman that's as pretty, as good of a character that she has, then she will have all the control, because she in your life becomes very scarce. If that's the only woman that you can have, if you cannot find anybody better, that area gets very constricted and controlled. Your sexuality gets controlled, very fundamental part of who you are. Okay, same thing with food, same thing with rent, and sometimes all of this can be connected to only one thing: finance. Who controls your finance? Where is it coming from? Is it one person or many? So what you really want to strive for is abundance. Whatever it is that is the foundation of your life has to come from many places. For example, instead of having one job, you can have, many job offers that are paying more than what you're currently making. And then you will have the abundance in that area. Then you have leverage. You have negotiation leverage. Okay? If you're living in your parents' house, or if you're living in a place that's controlled by someone else, start finding a way to increase your income. Maybe build some partnerships with some, friends who are like-minded as you, and move out. Okay? And have a more fair structure, and a more balanced power structure. Then, if you, don't know how to cook, you can, outsource that to a restaurant or some other source. But start taking that power back into your hands. Okay? If you have, a girlfriend that's too dominating and she uses sex and food to control you, you know what to do. You got to start finding someone better. Okay? If they're dominating you. If they're supportive, great. You don't have to look in that area. But things can get ugly because if you're, working too hard or working late hours, again, it's all about going out of line and what they consider as being in line. If you go out of that, suddenly things will. So essentially, there is this hidden force of control all the time imposed on you. And it's happening. It's weighing you down. Something isn't right. You don't feel good. You can't point a finger at anybody because these are covert forms of control. And this is the reason this cycle is so hard to break, because you're dependent, you're enslaved. Okay? And this is the reason why status hierarchy is hard to break. Because the moment you start taking actions to become more successful, here is what's going to happen. When you start to make a lot of money, here is what's going to happen. All the power structures are going to start disrupting one after the other. Boom, 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 boom. And, you may find that you find yourself in a position where you can find a better wife, better girlfriend. You can find better place to stay. Maybe you can move out of the house from your parents. You would find everything better with finance. So people subconsciously want to not let you have that power, not let you pursue that. Because if you have that, their power is going to get disrupted. I remember every single business idea that I had, that I shared in a group setting with my brother, with some people who had power over me. He just dismissed it. He said, "What are you going to do? How is this going to work? This is bullshit. It doesn't work. It never works." So he will discourage me and redirect me. Because if I get my hands on money, the entire power structure in the family is going to change. The whole status is going to change. And people don't want that. People want always, and this is a sad reality, people want to have control over you. Not everybody is like that. There will be some people who will be innocent. They want to be your friend, or they want to connect with you. They want to empower you. They want to be supportive. And those are great people. Those are the ones you want to have. But there are many, many, many people who want to have this kind of control. So this is how relationships become toxic. And this is why many people say, if you don't have the right woman in your life, she can make your life hell, and your finances will suffer, your mood will suffer, your health will suffer, and it will go into a downward spiral. This is the reason why people say, if you don't have the right parents, your psychological health, mental health, physical health, all will suffer. If you don't have a right boss, and you're feeling all the time pressure, with targets or tasks, you could get heart problems. And more importantly, on a daily basis, if you want to be successful, you will not feel the power. You'll not feel energy. So you ever feel so drained that you just can't even walk, and you're eating well, you're in good environment. I mean, there doesn't seem to be any reason why it should be feel drained. I'll tell you why you feel drained. You have multiple leeches sucking your blood. That's why. And you have to restructure your life. You have to create abundant sources from where you receive money. You have to have abundance of sources where you receive sex. Now, not to say that you have to go chasing skirts, but you have to have access, at least the access. You may not use the access. But it's good to have access.